Welcome to Catholic Education Matters, the podcast that celebrates the beauty of Catholic education, highlighting excellence in academics, athletics, and the transformative power of faith. Join us as we share the stories of those making a lasting impact on Catholic education. Let's begin. Good day, everybody, and thank you for joining us here for Catholic Education Matters. My name is Troy Van Vliet, and I am so excited to have Patty and Murray Neilson, some of my favorite people.
Wow. That
I've got to meet them, I guess a year and a half ago now, something like that, through Legatus. And it's been an absolute privilege getting to know you both through our Catholic community. And so I want to say welcome.
It's mutual.
All right, that's great. So, and I've just had the privilege also of having your son Kyle on our podcast. We recorded that last week, and so he'll be coming out live here in a little bit. But, and Kyle shared with us his whole conversion story, which was fascinating and such a wonderful thing to hear. So what can you tell us about your background? Give us a little quick. You're local. You're from Vancouver here, but you also had a conversion story as well.
Well, it's all Kyle's fault.
It's all Kyle's
as my
fault.
mother would say.
It's all Kyle's
I said, I
fault.
think it was the Holy Spirit's fault. You know, both
Go ahead.
Murray and I grew up. Both were born and raised in Vancouver, and both in the same Protestant denomination, although not the same church. And that's a story for another day, how we met and fell in love and got married at 21.
Nice.
Many years later, Kyle came home one Thanksgiving from Trinity Western. He was going to school there. He was in his last year doing a degree in Christianity and culture, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. And he was standing in the kitchen. He said, "Mom, do you have any idea how many Protestant denominations there are?" And he may have told this story. Did he tell this story?
He didn't say that part,
Okay.
No.
And
He may have forgotten this.
I said, "Is this a trick question?" He goes, "No, well, not really." He said, "But how many do you think?" I said, "Well, maybe 12 mainstream, and how about 15,000 offshoots?" He goes, "Try 45,000."
Oh, wow.
And I went, "Wow, I had no idea." I said, "Why do you ask?" He said, "Well, I am doing a course as part of my degree on the history of Christianity, and we had no, in our denomination, you knew up to 70 AD, and then you knew from the start of our denomination, which was the late 1800s. But there was no, if you had asked me what's the Nicene Council or the Church Fathers,
Right.
I honestly couldn't tell you. So very, other than reading Fascination of English History, and knew that Henry VIII left the Protestant Church to get, so he could get divorced. So Kyle said, he said, "Mom," he says, "I just don't understand how in the Protestant arena, every time someone wants to do something different, change the liturgy, doesn't want to believe this part, they kind of go off and do their own thing." And he said, "It doesn't sit well with me." So he said, "Did you know that the Catholic Church has had the same doctrine for 2,000 years? I said, "Well, I've actually never thought about it." He said, "Well, it's very appealing to me." I said, "Well, could you," I'm being very calm. I said, "Could you give me something to read so I could understand?" Because he said, "I'm on a journey." So that was it. He came home the next time with some books for me to read, because honestly, I had to save him from such a dire decision. And
Do you remember the books?
I do. I can tell you in a minute.
Okay.
But I think for both Murray and I, we had been raised with the mistaken impression that Catholics weren't really Christians, that they didn't have personal relationship with Jesus, and that's true in many cases. That we're not sure they go to heaven. That they just keep sinning and going to confession and going back sinning again, and that the Pope might be the Antichrist. So that was kind of, would you agree with me? Those were our presumptions.
Yeah, my father was a lay minister, and he really knew his scripture, because we come from a background called Plymouth Brethren. It's very rare, very Quaker-ish. And he would say that they only believe in works, they don't believe in faith, they drink. Like, it was like, these were awful people.
So I
So
had
you
to
fit right in, Murray.
That's why I joined.
So Kyle came home. He handed me Rome Sweet Home by Scott Hahn, which was Scott's personal story from being a Protestant pastor to conversion.
I did read that book back in the 90s.
I have a couple copies. I'll give it to you. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And Another was a book on the history of the church, and he said this one you might find a bit rough. It was Ron Howard's book, and third one was a series of stories called Surprised by Truth, of which there are three collections. Some are by atheists becoming Catholic, some are fallen away Catholics, some are Protestants becoming Catholic.
Yeah.
And I started to read. I couldn't put them down. We have to understand at the time, in our church, which had become a non-denominational church, I was an elder in our church, and we were going through a church leadership crisis. And it was
how long ago would that have been?
2003.
Okay.
And it was very hard, and I was frustrated with it. So I started to read these books, and so I could get educated in order to save Kyle from making this decision. And it was very quick for me.
Really? Wow.
Because I just felt like, wow, I didn't know. There was so much that I did not know of the truth of the Catholic Church. And so as I read these stories that were talking about the Eucharist and about Scripture, only Scripture, because that's where we were raised on. If it's in the Bible, it's true. If it's not in the Bible, it's not true. So sola Scriptura.
Sola Scriptura, yeah.
So I started reading that, and Scott's story was powerful, and I knew very quickly that that was the direction I was going. Murray's not a big reader as much as I am. So over the period of that year, it took me about 3 months where I went, that's where I'm going, but I need to do this wisely and carefully. Meanwhile, Kyle and his wife received into the church. And 8 months later, our eldest son and his wife, based on the influence of Kyle and Denise, they started to read about John Paul II's theology of the body. They were blown away by the concepts, never heard anything like that. Were very drawn to the church because of that. They came into the church. And then that following year, Kyle, in that period, had received his master's in theology from Steubenville, had come back and was working here and was our RCIA teacher.
Really? He left that tidbit of information out too.
Because we knew, but it was a couple of year process before we were received into the church in the spring of 2005.
Wow.
And it was both a blessed thing. My mother, when I caught the courage, my dad had passed away by then, but my mother, when I had the courage to tell her that we were actually made the decision and would she come to the Easter Vigil, she said, I will support you, but I have no joy in it. And I think when she died 10 years later, I think she had huge joy in our decision, because she could see that our faith had really deepened and developed and grown as we journeyed into the Catholic Church. One of the things for me that was so powerful was we grew up in a culture of stripping away everything that was beautiful. So we grew up with no music. That changed later, but there was no stained glass. There was no cross. There was no anything beautiful. It was all head knowledge. Reading the Scriptures.
Really.
A 45-minute preaching on the Scriptures, doing Bible studies. We really know our Bible. It was fantastic.
Often men and women were separated. Like Quakerism.
But it was. I am a creative person, and when I went to my first Mass, which was when Kyle and Denise, their Easter Vigil, it was just mind-blowingly beautiful.
Where was it at?
St. Augustine.
At St. Augustine.
And, as the lights came on,
church,
as the aisle, there was something moving. Too. And then I would go visit them in Steubenville, because they had our only grandchild at the time, and started to go to Mass with Kyle. I go to classes with him. And I remember the first time they had a priest for dinner, and the priest blessed me as he left, and I started to weep. And I'd never met a priest before. So there was all these experiences where I realized, as I was both reading and experiencing, that God was meeting me in every sense. In my emotional heart, in my what I could see, in what I could hear. I just loved that he addressed all of the senses of the beauty of himself that I had never experienced. So that was a huge draw for me.
Wow.
So 2005 was the start of our journey, and it has been such a rich blessing for us. Although we lost most of our Protestant friends, didn't we? They couldn't. It was really hard for them.
Just couldn't bear to see.
No, and we shared different things. The conversation is not the same.
Especially, I guess, if that's the major thing that you had in common before too. If it's one of the major things, and of course it comes down to your core beliefs, and then tough, very difficult, very difficult. So, and you're fortunate, your whole family.
Well, I was
your
right
kids.
after us, our daughter had not yet come into the church. She just and 2 years down the road afterwards, was received into the church. Met a lovely man in Montreal from Nova Scotia who's come back to his faith. So yes, we're all practicing together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, she was playing in a band in Montreal. She'd get home at 2 a.m, then get up and go to Mass. That's kind of a unique situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, we all share it together. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, and congratulations for that too, because not all families
No.
that happens. Everybody's got a different story, and for some it causes some real division. So you're blessed
Yes, we are.
for everybody to
Yeah.
be.
So one of the great graces of our 3 kids becoming Catholic is we have 14 grandchildren.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. That is so great. So, and Murray, you just got back from a trip with
2 of them.
2 of them.
Yeah.
2
I do
kids
that.
and 2 grandkids.
I promised them all when they're 16,
Yeah.
I'll take them anywhere in the world with one of their parents. So this was, I got about 8 more to go.
You
So I did 2. Just got home a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
But my conversion wasn't as straightforward as Patty's. I wasn't as keen.
Okay.
So men want to be right and not happy, and it's one of the stupidest concepts I've ever seen. So I wasn't unhappy at my Protestant church, but I noticed that Patty and my other kids were going to this little Catholic church every Sunday. So I could get up in the morning, drive all the way across town to our Protestant church and go there because I wanted to be right, or I could suck it up and go to the Catholic church up the street with my family. Now, I'm a really sociable guy, and we were kind of founders of the Protestant church. They call them church plants. And we were there since day one, but I never felt comfortable. And I'm a sociable guy. I go to St. Francis of Assisi.
You never felt comfortable
At my Protestant church.
at your Protestant church? Wow. Okay.
So I go to St. Francis of Assisi,
Interesting.
which is a Italian church in the east side of Vancouver. And I always thought Italians are friendly, but they're not. So I
With all
would
due respect.
So I would go in, no one would talk to me, no one would sit with us. And I'd go up, and Father Mark Schwab would give me a blessing, and I'd weep. I felt that, it was Jesus looking right into my soul. Then I go kneel on the dealer. And that's a really foreign concept for me. And I'd weep again. We'd both be weeping. And I thought, something's going on here. Nobody talked to me. No one invited us out for lunch. No one was friendly. And I love it. I feel like I've come home. So I knew it was a God thing. So I decided, then I read some of the books Patty read, and there was no deal killers in them.
Yeah.
Like, my dad presented things which I thought were deal killers.
Yeah.
But no, there's stuff I don't understand, and I still don't understand. But it wasn't major theological issues that would be not the truth.
I think for both of us, the first time we started to understand what the Eucharist was, because we were used to every Sunday having breaking of the bread. It was it was a set alone part of our church service, where we would have a little sip of orange grape juice and have some bread. And it was a lovely commemoration, but we realized very quickly that it was not the real thing. And we, over the period of our 2 years until we learned that and actually could receive it, we began to crave the body of Jesus. Yeah. So the Eucharist has become a very precious thing to both of us. As someone once said, if cradle Catholics really knew what it was, they'd crawl on their knees together.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah.
I've experienced more of a reversion to the faith over the years, and I credit it to, a lot of it. I guess the trigger was the school, and growing up Catholic, we were went to Mass every Sunday. We did everything all the way through, and then you get through high school, and then you're out into university, and all of a sudden you're in the real secular world. You're surrounded by it, and it can be really tough to not fall into the trap of that, of which I somewhat experienced. I always had my faith, but didn't wasn't, and I had a great grounding. My parents were fantastic growing up. So I have them to thank for that. But it's easy to fade away. And then, or it slides down the priority list quite easily in today's world. You're just inundated with today's temptations, and they're not godly ones. And you have kids, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, how are you going to raise your kids? And then you start going back to your roots a little bit. And then this school, in order to get it built, St. John Paul II Academy, it was surrounding myself with the right people and, moving forward. And there's just more of it and more of it and more of it. And I just kind of rediscovered my faith all over in a different way that I hadn't before. And I can't just say it's because I'm getting older, because quite often you see people revert more back to their faith as they get older. But it's just surrounding myself with nothing but goodness, and with nothing but people that are, all going in the same direction, and then wanting that for my kids, but then unselfishly thinking like, I want this for everybody's kids. I want them, hence Catholic education matters. Like it truly, truly does. If you want to bring that foundation in, because we've got our parishes, we've got our family life, and then we roll the dice, throwing our kids into a secular world and just crossing your fingers, hopefully that they don't get influenced, in the wrong direction. So we're like that third, the third leg in the stool that's going to hold it up, in being the education system. So truly believe in that, and like I said, just being part of building this new high school, and that's exposed me to a whole new part of my faith. And I've grown fascinated with people's either reversion stories or conversion stories, to find out, because and not because it's like, okay, what got them over onto our team? It was like, what can I learn more about my own faith by hearing? Because there's so much to learn about Catholicism. You can learn about it till the day you die, and you will never know everything. So what am I missing? What do I not know yet? And talking to others and hearing their conversion stories is something that really intrigues me.
As you're speaking of that, I'm reminded, for me, after now 20 years of being a Catholic, that what the Church provides for us is this gorgeous framework. Beautiful, if you want to think about it as a gilded frame around both the history, but who Jesus is, who our God is, what He's done for us, what He hopes for us, and is to bring Him into full communion with Him one day. We have it here partially, but we'll have it fully one day. But I love that framework, that even if I'm not feeling really connected or feeling that I know it's there, and there's a safety in that is so incredible, that you can't just push it out the frame and start your own idea over here. The framework is really solid.
Yeah.
And that is a very comforting thing for me. And I've watched over my mother, back to my mom, she said to me, well, I think she really just prayed that God would use us as missionaries in the Catholic Church, to that our story would help Catholics revert back, because she didn't think many were really following the line. And I think God has really used that. And He certainly has grown our faith in a much deeper way. Would you not agree? Yes. Murray and I often sit in Mass together, and I look at him and I go, I cannot believe we're sitting here together, so united, like excited to get up in the morning, go to church, go to Mass, to being traveling, finding a place to go to Mass, but that we share that as someone that we've been married 56 years.
Yeah.
And there's such a deep joy in sharing our faith. We have different faiths because we relate differently to God the Father, but we share the structure of the Catholic Church so deeply together.
Like, as a Protestant, I often found church an inconvenience because I wanted to go skiing. But as a Catholic, it's first. I go to church first, and if I'm going skiing, it's built around that.
Yeah.
The one thing Patty didn't say, and she's being too modest about this, Her mother is Christian royalty. She was the theologian. She was one of the founders of Regent College.
Oh, really?
She knew her stuff, taught hundreds and hundreds of women Bible study fellowship, et cetera, et cetera. So she was very educated on the subject, and but she supported us, but didn't necessarily endorse us.
So she passed away just before COVID at 99, but she lived in Crofton Manor and would go to Mass on Friday noon, but it still bothered her at the end that he couldn't give her the Eucharist. Oh. Yeah, it was cute.
Oh, my goodness. So she would go to Mass?
Yes.
She eventually
Yeah.
went to Mass? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, but she never went through RCA to be able to...
She read a lot. Kyle gave her lots to read.
Oh, really?
He was wonderful with her. She was really open. She really wanted to know why.
Yeah.
Right? And I think she came to a much deeper understanding, but it was too ingrained in her to walk away from what she knew.
Yeah. Oh, well, God bless her for being open to reading to see where her kids are going. So, so do you have siblings as well?
I have 3 siblings.
3 siblings?
Yeah.
And are they practicing any faith denomination?
One is not practicing any faith, and 2 are, and are supportive. Skeptical, supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have conversations, but we don't. They're not overly keen to know more.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. That's all right. What about you, Murray? I didn't know.
One of my brothers dead. The other brother is a Protestant, and we're not close at all.
Ah, okay.
But he would be practicing Protestant.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. And I'm happy to see in our world today, in today's Western society, that Christianity, I think, is coming together more as well. Yeah. There's not that hard line divide.
The fear.
Yeah. And information is so readily available. If you have a question about anything, you're one little click away, just saying, "Hey, what about this?" And that information is there. So anybody that's even a tad bit curious, it's really easy to go down a rabbit hole.
And the sound bites. My Instagram right now is picking up a guy that last week was talking about what do you say to a Protestant who says confession is not right? Well, it was like this short, perfect thing around how the early Christians confessed their sins to one another, right? That it wasn't just between them and God. This week it was, what do you say to the Protestant that says it's the Bible alone? He said, well, the early Christians didn't have Scripture, right?
Exactly.
It is tradition, and the Word and the Bible. So there's so much out there that's so much easier.
Jesus left us the church; he didn't leave us the Bible. And the Bible came soon thereafter, but in a great book the book for us to follow. So
it's a great segue.
Yes.
From our Protestant experience, one of the things that was great about it into talking about philanthropy. Can we do that?
Yeah, 100%.
My dad was a house painter, humble man. We weren't poor, but he didn't do very well. But every now and then at church, I'd see him shake hands with a widow, and I'd notice there's some money folded in his hand. And that always stuck with me. And I was brought up, I would say we were brought up to tithe. The church talked about money. If the church's budget was down, they would get up and talk about it. Say, we've got to raise X amount by December 31st. And for most of you, I'm sure you know what tithing is, but for those who don't, giving 10% of your income. And people say, well, is it gross or net? It doesn't really matter. You're giving part of your income.
Yeah.
And we were brought up with that.
And that has grown into, like, you're known in the Vancouver Archdiocese as philanthropists, and also well, you've called yourself a rainmaker before, like in terms of getting some things done. For instance, last year at the not the past Archbishop's dinner, but the one prior to that, there was a lofty goal of $1 million. And they entrusted it into your hands to say, how can we do this? How can we make $1 million in one evening? Yeah. At a dinner, and that's a massive challenge. And the Archbishop's dinner is how many people attend that? 1,000 people. Yes, I should know that. I've been there several times over the last few years. But and they put you in charge of rallying people you believe in philanthropy, though. You believe in giving back.
I'm not uptight about talking about money.
Yeah.
And
well, it's a real part of what we do.
Yeah. And it's not our money. It's God's money. That's what Andy Sachs talks about.
Yeah, he does.
We're just living proof of that.
Yeah, and we need to be good stewards of it. My dad used to always say too, you got to give till it hurts. And it's like, what does that mean actually?
Yeah,
it's like, okay, I could be spending it all on this, but okay, no, we're going to go here. Or I'm going to give, I don't know where it's going to come from, but I'm going to give anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a big, I think that's where it hurts. Right?
Yeah.
I have memories of our elders coming to visit us in January or February, asking us, Murray and I, what our contribution would be, because they were doing the church budget. So they were asking everyone, what can you give, or what do you think it will be? And we have always lived on never a salary, but based on Murray's business, and mine was commission based, so it was hard to tell. Hoped.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of like that. So, but it's not a conversation that happens very often in many Catholic environments that we've been used to.
Yeah.
And it's I have to admit, it is hard for me every Sunday when I see the basket go by and people put in $5,
Yeah.
$5.
Yeah.
And I'm not judging. It's just I think people aren't well educated. Murray always has a saying: "Is you can't outgive God."
Oh, yeah.
What would you mean by that?
Well, like you said, I've given money when I didn't have it, and I had it when the check had to be written. And there's been times I've been overly generous, and times I've been stingy. It seems the times I've been stingy, the money supply has kind of dried up. I had an interesting luncheon today with a businessman, Catholic, 52 years old, and we got talking about this giving money thing, and he said, very rarely am I asked. And I said, I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm a pretty scary guy to say that to.
Yeah, exactly.
And he mentioned a project at our church, because he goes to my parish, where they needed X amount of money to build something. And he said, we raised $130,000 in like 6 days because somebody asked. So I thought, well, that's a new one to think about.
Most sales are made after the seventh no as well.
I never heard that.
Yeah. No, it's true. You got to go through a lot of objections before you actually get the sale. And I know when philanthropy's tough, and raising money is tough. Not a lot of people are willing to ask, but if you don't ask for the sale either, you're definitely not going to get it.
No.
So that's incredible. You've been generous to our school as well. We set up this beautiful new chapel, and we have, I think, one of the most beautiful corpus on our cross. Can you tell us a little bit about that, where it came from?
Murray will tell you the story. It's great.
Okay.
Oof. I got a good friend who is Czechoslovakian on the Czech side, not the Slovakia side. And I met him 20, 30 years ago, and he was leading I'll just use Czech men, leading them in Bible studies. And I went on a missions trip with him to Slovakia, and just loved the guy. Very straightforward, very black and white. And over the years, we started supporting him financially. Then he started this little side business where he would go to the backwoods of Slovakia, where people were hand carvers, and they hand carved crosses and corpuses. And he said it's a dying art because their fingers are pretty gnarled and they're pretty sore, and younger people aren't coming into it. So we meet every Christmas and have a little visit. And he mentioned to me, 6 or 7 months ago, he said, I drive by this, I think it's a Catholic school thing or something. And, I've got this huge corpus that is in the process of being carved, and it's like, 6 feet wide and 8 feet tall, or it's big. It needs to be in a place like that. Whew.
Do you know anyone? He said, yeah.
Do you know anybody there? I said, are you trying to be funny? I said, do I? So that's what led to it.
Oh, wow.
And he is so excited. We are so excited. You are so excited.
Yeah.
So how can that not be a wonderful thing?
Providential, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and I have a hard time not getting so emotional when I'm sitting there, you know, having been part of this project for 12 something years
Yeah.
now, and to have it, I mean, the first time we did it wasn't even finished inside our chapel yet. And we had this living rosary that was being done across Canada and live. So everybody across Canada at this time was going to be saying the rosary in a chapel somewhere. And we did it in there, and we sang some songs, you know, it was before we even had our piano properly set up, and just the most emotional time that you could possibly have, thinking like, okay, this thing was created and the corpus was up there, and it was like, wow, it's absolutely amazing. And when we have Mass in there, or when we have it blessed, or when we had the chapel blessed, you were there.
Yep.
I had such a hard time not getting all choked up when you think all that time and it's here now. This chapel, which is going to be here for the next 100 years, it's alive. There's people in here and expressing their faith, and they're there to worship. And the corpus is magnificent.
Hand carved.
Mm-hmm.
Has the person, the carver, or the person that
Peter, we've sent him pictures from the blessing. Yeah,
But is he here?
Yes, he is.
He lives in your
yes.
neighborhood.
Well, he has to come and see it.
Yeah.
He has to come and
We-
visit.
I will write him.
Yeah.
I'll go with him.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. He needs to see it. The impact that it's having every day on
His
kids.
carvers are so excited.
Absolutely love
because a lot of them are close to Poland.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Paul too. And
it. Oh my goodness. That is so awesome. And there's another piece that's being worked on right now. And this one is, well, it's probably the most emotional piece that's going to go in our school, for me anyway. So there's a famous artist now, Timothy Schmaltz. He's a carver. Well, not a carver, sorry. He's a sculptor. And he's done artwork that's gone all around the world. His bronze sculptures. There's rendition of one right in the back there, a mini version of the homeless Jesus on the park bench. And he's done another one for us at our school, which is the Last Supper table. It's a life-size granite Last Supper table with a bronze Jesus sitting there. All the seats are empty except for Jesus sitting there. So, and it's right outside our courtyard, where the kids have lunch every day, so they can actually have lunch with Jesus at the Last Supper table.
Fantastic.
Which is hugely impactful. The same sculptor does another one that it's very famous. It's called his Life sculpture. And the Life is it's the Madonna, like a modern version of the Madonna, and she's with child, and you can see baby Jesus inside her womb. And our school was built with a pro-life foundation to it. And I always say that school would not have been built, wouldn't be there today, had my wife Lisa and I had not said yes to life, because our daughter was born with Down syndrome. And we did find out in utero, we found out early on, and we were encouraged by our medical system to have an abortion all the way past 6 months. We were encouraged, and kept giving that option over and over and over again. And, abortion in itself is horrific, let alone that stage in life where, people are having abortions today. I found it in our country, there are no federal abortion laws in terms of limiting it as to what when you can have an abortion. It can go right up to term. And so we chose life, of course. Like, it was never, to the point where we had to, talk to the doctors and say, look, you need to stop talking to us about that because it's not an option. We won't do it. And so we gave, life to our little Annika, who's now going to be graduating. She's part of the first graduating class in our new campus of the school. And to have that sculpture in our lobby that will be there for the next 100 years and hopefully beyond, that says yes to life, and we'll encourage that for everybody that comes into our school is going to see that. And we're getting that sculpture. There's a greater story that goes on to about the sculpture too, and how we stumbled across it in our trip to Napa last summer. And that's thanks to you, because these sculptures are not inexpensive either. So I have to say, on behalf of St. John Paul II Academy, thank you for that generous gift.
I couldn't go in a better place.
Oh, it's, and I know when you saw it, you said, you have to have that. Oh, yeah. You absolutely have to have that.
And I wept. Oh. What sung out for me is you walk into your school with that sculpture there, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it shows what you stand for.
Yeah.
Kids need to see that.
Yeah. Young people.
And I first saw it in Washington, D.C. Tim was there, I don't know, doing a display. And Father Galvin was with me because it was like, it's Legatus thing in California. Pardon me.
But he had that sculpture
He
there.
had
the sculpture there.
And Father Galvin said, we ought to put that in JP too. I said, really? And he just dropped the hint. Then when I saw it again.
He's a very subtle guy.
Oh, is he ever? Oh, but he's so intentional.
Yeah. Why did we do that? Yeah.
No, and for me, then when Murray said, what do you think? And I just said, well, we have.
I didn't even ask her.
We have 14 grandchildren, and we have some babies in heaven. And I just, that for me, that's an honoring of the loss of them for us, but that we will see them again one day. But it just means a lot of things for me. So.
And we're in Napa at the Napa Institute this summer, and we're talking about this in one of the breakout sessions. We're having this chat about this, and
what this
about the life sculpture.
Oh.
And I don't know if you remember that.
No,
and then it was yourself, myself, and Silveria, and we walk out into the lobby, and who's there sculpting live was Timothy Schmaltz.
I remember walking out. Yes.
And then we're like, oh my God, like another providential moment. And there he has one of his little sculptures sitting right there. And we were just talking about, we got to raise money for that. And then bam, what an emotional moment. It's like, holy, well, if this isn't a sign, we're talking about it, and all of a sudden there's Tim. And so right there on the spot, it was like, we got to make this happen. So, and once again, thanks to you. Thanks to you.
Good, you're welcome.
Wow.
What drives that in people, giving and philanthropy?
Well, somebody who should remain nameless recently criticized me for being too generous. I've never heard that one before.
Wow.
And I said, do you understand? And they said, instead of giving that money over here or doing that, you should do this with it or something. And I said, do you understand the satisfaction somebody gets from giving? Very few people talk about that. I get a lot more out of this than you do. No one talks about that.
Isn't that something?
The whole concept of giving and what a blessing that is to you.
I've had that debate before with people. I came up with this on my own. I said, you know what? People do everything for selfish reasons, and they even give for selfish reasons. Like, well, come on, And they said, and they brought up Mother Teresa. I said, do you think that she's not the most fulfilled person on the planet? She has nothing, and all she does is give. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how full her heart would have been that entire time? Had cared about nothing but giving. And she left here as, well, literally a saint, and so there's nothing more fulfilling in life than giving. And you're going to get taken advantage of sometimes.
Yep,
we have been.
And I'd rather be on that side, getting taken advantage of, rather than being selfish in another way and keeping everything for myself.
Well, the scripture that says to release it, you get it. Whereas
You
if
get
you
it
hold on
back.
tight,
Yeah, one of my missions or causes is to motivate Catholic people to give more. And that is a whole other layer of satisfaction and blessing.
Yeah.
To say, here was someone who's got money, who hasn't been overly generous, and now they are. And that little nudge got them there.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Well, it comes back to maybe someone asked them and encouraged them.
Some of the most generous people that are coming to our school or getting involved in our school aren't even Catholic. Wow. And they're coming in and they're falling in love with what we're doing there. They're falling in love with our culture. They're even admiring our faith and the foundation that we're giving to our kids there. And they're like, this is a good thing. I want to give generously. And it's really quite amazing to see, and it kind of falls back on that too. As Catholics, especially as cradle Catholics, so often we don't realize what we have. And the church is so vast, it's so big, and it's seen as wealthy just because it's so massive, though. And it's also the largest single charity in the world. And most people don't know that.
No, they don't.
And as Catholics, we keep quiet about that. It's not something that we're boastful about. Like I talked about it at the new St. Paul's Hospital in Vancouver, that the Archdiocese has given, with the sale of the property downtown, has given $1 billion to that hospital. $1 billion with a B. That's one Archdiocese has done that. When I talked to Archbishop Miller about it, and nobody knows that. They hear of, Jimmy Pattison, God bless him, because he donated, I think it was $75 or $100 million, which is, for one person, incredibly generous. And then the church quietly gives $1 billion. And why did it give $1 billion? The Archbishop said the main reason is to keep abortion out of that hospital. Wow. How is that a powerful thing? So, and in today's world, we're keeping new people from entering the world, and then we're hurrying them out of our world, with MAID today. And that's an even tougher one to keep out of hospitals now. But abortion is something that we can have influence on, at least in one hospital, to say, okay, look, we'll write a check for this, but we're not doing that there, And of course, that resonates with me. It's something big. But as Catholics, we're quieter about those types of things. And it's the same thing like in the downtown east side and what have you. There's a lot of Catholic initiatives going on down there, but they're quiet. They're not out in the forefront. And we need to continue to be generous. We have to continue to give to these different initiatives out there. So as Andy says, giving is living,
Amen.
And so we need to continue to do that for sure. Catholic Pacific College, speaking of Catholic Education Matters, that's another thing another entity that you've sort of signed on to help in different ways.
It is. So Catholic Pacific College is a small Catholic university on the grounds of Trinity Western. They have affiliation with Trinity, so young people or old people can go to school there and finish with a degree accredited from Trinity Western, but they can receive a lot of their classes at Catholic Pacific College. So it's a kind of an unusual marriage. And we have a granddaughter that is attending her first year there, and I love what they're doing. And that's why I'm stepping up, because they're fairly young, fairly unknown. They need a new school built, a new campus, which I know you know about. But they're doing a remarkable job giving very deep, solid foundation to young people when they need it the most. I have a theory that, and it kind of was born out of, growing up as a child in a Christian home that was, came to understand and have a personal relationship with Jesus when I was very young, the same with Murray. And in my teenage years was very influenced by an organization called Young Life, deep Bible study, a lot of mentoring. So I came into we came into our adulthood with a really solid foundation. But I had to go through a period of a couple of years where I tested, is that my faith or my family's faith? And, I often say to parents who lament that their children are kind of a bit off the wagon, I go, they need to do that. They need to test it. But a school like CPC is a place where the pieces of foundation, spiritual foundation that maybe were missed in the growing up years can really become solid. And those are the people that are going to be the future adults in our business, in our healthcare, in our education, in our engineering, in all of the professions, that they need to have that incredible foundation too. So that's why
You believe in
it's
that?
really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a humble little school.
Yes, it is.
It's
Yeah.
very humble. It's
Yeah.
part of a great university. Trinity Western is absolutely fantastic. And so it does need to be, well, I don't want to say rebuilt. It needs to be built more so. More kids are going there. I'm also happy to say my older daughter is going.
Yeah.
She's in her second year there in psychology. And the culture at that school and the kids that go to that school and the families that are there supporting it. Oh, wow. What a community. I couldn't ask for something better for my daughter Taylor to go to. I had my nephews and a niece went through Trinity Western as well and CPC, and they are fantastic people. They're fantastic young people with families already of their own.
Yeah, that's the future leadership in our parishes.
Yeah.
Really important.
100%. And Father Donnelly, he goes there and he does mass. I don't know if he does daily mass
I
there,
think
but
he does.
in a
Someone does daily mass.
Yeah.
At
in a-
11 o'clock. If you're ever in the neighborhood, drop by.
I will. I
Yeah.
will for sure. And Father Donnelly, he's at Saints Joachim and Anne in Aldergrove, which I attend mass there as well. And the young families there. I mean, young parents that are there with not, onesie twosie kids, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kids, which is so great to see.
Yeah.
And, you attend mass at 10 a.m. and it's a lot of screaming babies. You have to be able to, and they're all there. There's not some quiet room in the back. Everybody's mixed right in with the parish. And it's so great to see. It's so awesome to see the growth in the parish that way. So that community is great. I don't have to worry about my daughter. She's surrounded by good people of the same faith and getting, a really solid Catholic influence throughout her life. So, yeah, couldn't be happier. So Catholic education does matter in a big, big way. So we need to do better. We need to do more. And I think we've taken it for granted in our schools. We don't want to just be Catholic in name. We want to have it infiltrated throughout the total education program. So thank you for what you do, for your generosity in giving back to Catholic education, because it's huge and it's impacting so many kids' lives. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
And also, thank you for coming here today. Do you have any other final words of wisdom or anything that you want to share before we wrap things up?
I don't think for me.
No.
No?
No.
All right. Well, I'd love to have you back on again sometime. So
Well,
I'm
we'll
sure
get something else to talk
And we'll have something else to talk about.
Love
Yeah,
to.
for
Yeah,
sure.
good. Thanks. Thank you,
All
Troy.
right. Thank you. All right. And thank you all for joining us here today. Catholic Education Matters. And be sure to join us again. And as always, please like our video, subscribe, and also share this with your friends. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening to Catholic Education Matters. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the podcast on your favorite listening platform, rate it, and also leave a review. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends and family to help spread the word about the impact of Catholic education. Be sure to listen again.